Hello and welcome. I want to begin with a question that, in my opinion, is one of the most difficult and challenging we can ask ourselves. Have you ever grown tired of waiting? Do you ever feel exhausted, worn out by a promise that never seems to be fulfilled? Maybe it's a promise from God in your heart, a dream planted in your soul that time, reality, and age seem to want to nullify. Maybe it's the promise of a job, the promise of marriage, the promise of restoration in your family, the promise of a child. And with each passing day, the waiting becomes more painful, the doubt grows stronger, and the voice of reason begins to whisper, "What if you were not meant to be?" The truth is that a journey of faith isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a long journey full of deserts, detours, and moments when the promise seems more distant than ever. Our culture, here in the United States, teaches us to have everything yesterday, to have quick results, and to not tolerate waiting. But faith, true faith, demands something that goes against our human nature: patience, perseverance, and unshakable trust in a God who has his own timing. But what if I told you there is a story, a life journey, that is living proof that faith is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to act, to walk, to hope, and to trust despite all uncertainty? What if this story were not about a military leader or a powerful king, but about a man who at 75 was called to leave everything behind for a promise that, humanly speaking, was impossible? Today we're going to delve into the story of Abraham, the father of faith, but not in the way you've heard. I want us to see this story as an instruction manual, a practical and spiritual map for navigating the long journey of hope so that we, like Abraham, can learn to trust God when the promise seems distant and hope is fading. Abraham's story does not begin with him as the father of faith, but as a man named Abram. He was an ordinary man, living in a city called Ur of the Chaldeans, a comfortable, wealthy, but also idolatrous city. He lived his life probably in his 70s, childless, without a clear future. And it is in this scenario of apparent normality that God calls him, not with thunder or an earthquake, but with a clear and direct voice. "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you." And here lies the first and greatest challenge of the journey of faith, the call to the unknown. God didn't tell Abraham where he was going. He told him to leave, to go to a land God would show him. It was a blank check. It was a call to the uncertain. And our culture, our modern life, hates uncertainty. We want to know our destination. We want to have a 5-year plan. We want to be in control of everything. But God often calls us to a path where the only control we have is our faith. And here lies the greatness of Abraham. He obeyed. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew who he was going to. He didn't know the land, but he knew the owner of the land. And along with this call to uncertainty, God gave Abraham a promise that, humanly speaking, was absurd. "I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless your name, and through you I will bless all the families of the earth." A great nation for a 75-year-old man, childless and with a barren wife? It was a promise that confronted reality. And faith, true faith, is exactly that. It clings to a promise that is greater than the reality we are living in. Abraham's faith was not blind, it was visionary. He was able to see, through faith, what human eyes could not. Abraham's journey begins. He and his family leave Ur and head for Haran. And here we see the first detour, the first moment Abraham's faith is tested. They stop in Haran, and he stays there for a while with his father Terah. We often do this too. We receive a call from God, begin the journey, but settle in a Haran. We settle in a place that is not our destination, but is comfortable and familiar. We distract ourselves with what is good, but not what is best. But God, in his faithfulness, allowed the journey to continue. After his father died, Abraham left Haran and went to the land of Canaan. He arrives there, and the first thing God does is reaffirm the promise, "To your descendants I will give this land." He is in a place that is his promise, but he doesn't have a son. And so the journey of hope begins. Abraham and Sarah's journey of faith had their ups and downs. They weren't perfect. In a moment of fear, Abraham mentioned Sarah as his sister, and Pharaoh took her to his palace. But God, in his faithfulness, intervened and protected Sarah. And this story teaches us something powerful. Our failure does not nullify God's faithfulness. Our mistakes do not undo his promise. Abraham's faith was not perfect, but it was persistent. Time passes. Years become decades. Abraham is 85. Sarah is 75. They have no children, and the promise seems ever more distant. And this is where impatience, fear, and the desire to help God come into play. Sarah, in her pain, in her desperation, suggests to Abraham that she have a child with her servant Hagar. They, as human beings, sought to solve the problem in their own way. And the result was Ishmael. And Ishmael, which means God hears, becomes the symbol of a promise that was fulfilled in human ways, with human time, and with human anxiety. And the birth of Ishmael did not bring peace. It brought conflict, jealousy, and pain. We often do this too. God gives us a promise, and we wait for a while, and then we try to lend a hand to God. We try to solve the problem with our own wisdom, with our own strength, with our own time. And the result is always the same. We create an Ishmael, a human solution that brings us more pain than it solves. But God, in his faithfulness, did not forget his promise. When Abraham was 99 years old, God visited him again and told him that the promise would be fulfilled through Sarah. And God changed Abram's name to Abraham, which means father of many nations, and Sarai's name to Sarah, which means princess. And the promise was fulfilled. Sarah, in her 90th year, gave birth to a son, Isaac, which means laughter. The son who was the miracle, God's laughter in the life of a couple who had waited for over 25 years. Abraham's faith was finally and definitively tested. After all this time, after all this waiting, after the miracle of Isaac's birth, God asked Abraham the most difficult request of all. Take your only son, your beloved Isaac, and offer him as a sacrifice. And herein lies the greatest lesson of faith. It wasn't about God wanting a human sacrifice. It was about God wanting Abraham's heart. It was about God wanting to know if Abraham trusted him enough to give up his greatest treasure, his promise, his joy, his future. And Abraham, with his unshakable faith, obeyed. He went up Mount Moriah, and Isaac, the son of promise, asked, "Father, where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham, with his faith, answered, "God will provide the lamb." And at the moment Abraham said, "The knife," the angel of the Lord stopped him. And in the bush there was a lamb trapped, which God had provided. The greatest test of faith is not receiving the promise, but being willing to deliver it in return. And Abraham's journey teaches us exactly this. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to act, to walk, to hope, and to trust despite all uncertainty. And if this story resonated with you today, and if you're tired of waiting for a promise from God, I urge you to do something. Leave a comment below, share your promise, your Isaac, and how you've struggled to trust God on your journey of hope. Your story could be the inspiration someone needs to not give up. And if you want more stories like this that guide your faith and give you courage, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. In our next video, we'll explore the wisdom of Solomon, how to make wise choices in a world of options. Thank you for being here with me. May Abraham's journey inspire you to trust God even when the journey is long. Until next time.